Watching the film, obviously you're going to get all the espionage that you expect from le Carré, but for me watching it, it feels more like a story about relationships, really.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that. And I also think it's not just, it's relationships and also particularly familial relationships as well. It's about the survival of a family and the love for the family and the extents that you'd go in order to help your family to survive. Yeah.
And you're playing a barrister, so I'm presuming somebody that's very used to being in control of a situation. But your character is put into a situation that she is out of control of. So was that interesting for you, then being able to explore that kind of side of her character?
Yeah, it was really interesting for me. And it was also interesting, what I really loved exploring also was just how much she loves her husband, because she's on this journey, and you're right, she's in a situation that she really hates to be in, being out of control, but she does all of this because she loves him so much, and this despite him at the start of the movie having had an affair. So their relationship is in this rocky ground, but even so she's like, I'm going to risk everything because you're worth it, and that was really beautiful to play.
Is it interesting as well when you see at the extremes of where these people can go, how much actually it draws them together because of that?
Yeah, I definitely think, I definitely think one of the real secrets to the success of John le Carré is his ability to create these incredibly complex relationships and complex characters, because ultimately there are no good or bad people. We're all a mixture of those things, and he captures it really beautifully, particularly in this film.
I loved the emotional journey that your character goes on. He feels so multi-dimensional. Is that what you felt when you read the part?
Yes, I did. He's there's often a character in le Carré's novels who I think is le Carré, and I think Hector is le Carré. He speaks the truth to authority. He's distrustful of any institutional organisations who I think essentially he feels are mostly corrupt, and I think Hector feels that way. Hector has a personal reason to be involved in this, and he sees an opportunity to get back at someone who wronged him badly years before, but that is of course directly at odds with this other mission which he's been asked to complete on behalf of this young family. So he comes good in the end, old Hector, but he struggles with his conscience on the way. He's confused about how he should act.
Watching the film, obviously you've got the espionage that you would expect from le Carré, but for me watching it, there's far more of a relationship story here, and what a man will do to protect his family.
I think that one of the big things that drew me to the movie originally was it's a portrait of a very modern marriage, two people trying to hold down high-pressure jobs and the difficulty that means for them. So we see a marriage in a state of crisis at the beginning of the movie between Ewan McGregor and Naomie Harris. And then Ewan's character falls under the spell of Dima, the Russian money launderer. He's a very dangerous member of the Russian mafia. And so it's and this big story of the movie is Ewan's character trying to save this other man's family. So it's much more, it's far more emotional layers than you might expect of a traditional le Carré.
And the visual style of the film is absolutely stunning, and the use of reflection, I've never seen like that before. Was that a metaphor for something?
Well, so I worked a lot on the style with Anthony Dobmantle, the cinematographer. He's an incredible DP. He'd done Slumdog Millionaire, Rush, sort of incredible body of work. And so one of the big things we wanted to do was show the sense of surveillance, that you're always being watched now in Britain. So we had lots of hidden cameras, surveillance cameras, but we also wanted to show the sort of gloss of the oligarch's world. There's so much money at stake. And so we put a lot of surface gloss on things, and everything reflects back. So the thing about the movie is there's no moral right and wrong. There's a lot of grey areas, and that's what we were saying. No one's perfectly good and no one's totally bad, and there's a lot in between.
Absolutely. And What I notice as well with the film, that it only takes one sort of turn of dialogue for you to actually change your perception of a character. And I'm thinking of the MI6, Damian's character, where he seems very kind of stiff in the beginning, and then as soon as he starts to talk again about his family and his backstory, you see him in a very different light, and you become more kind of attached to him as well, don't you?
Well, I think that's what's so great about the script is that Hector, you think at first, well, he's really untrustworthy. He starts operating unbeknownst to Ewan and Naomie's character he says that they're going to be working with the support of MI6, but actually he's got no backing at all. He's going it alone. And so you're slightly against him early in the movie. And then what happens is you realise actually he's a very lonely man with his own personal agenda for doing it. So in many ways the movie's a portrait of three marriages: Ewan and Naomie's marriage, Stellan Skarsgård's marriage, which is one of the most moving aspects of the film, I think, but also a marriage which has gone wrong, Damian Lewis, all on his own. Very lonely figure by the end of the movie.
And this is an incredible story, but reading the script, what was it that personally resonated with you to want to invest all your time and efforts into it?
Well, we were lucky enough to read the book before, obviously, and then Hossamini came on board to write the script. So it was the book that really caught the imagination. All of le Carré's books are very filmic, and they tell these wonderful big stories. This one in particular felt somehow it travelled. It had a real visceral excitement to it that started us off.
And for you, Stephen?
Again, it was the book. Really was what triggered the whole process, and obviously, I'm also connected with le Carré by birth. I'd seen the novel evolving, and as Gail says, its cinematic potential was evident. The themes were very relevant. The characters were fantastic. It also had this a very accessible narrative in that it's about a person drawn into secret worlds and drawn into the world of espionage and crime in the way that I think the audience can really connect with, and we felt it gave it a very visceral, intense quality.
I think for me, watching the film as well, it's a very family-based story, actually, isn't it? And about what you will do to protect your family.
Yes, and it was quite relevant actually. And one of the things I think that Stellan in particular really loved, he has a big family, and it's a very important thing to him, and I think he really enjoyed that the juxtaposition as well of crime, mafia money, and family. It's a big theme.
Absolutely. Talking about Stellan, you've actually got a stellar cast as well, haven't you? A seamless link there. Can you tell us more about who you've got in the film?
We have Ewan McGregor playing the lead, and he's obviously fantastic. He plays this university lecturer drawn into the story, this outsider. Naomie Harris plays his wife. They have a complex relationship, and she becomes part of his journey forward. She's a lawyer who's married to him, and basically the two of them are propelled forward into the story. Stellan Skarsgård plays essentially a Russian crime boss who becomes this, who has the information to give away that catalyzes the whole story, and then Damian Lewis plays the MI6 operative who essentially masterminds the operation to bring Stellan's information across.
And what's great about all of the people that you've mentioned there, they're actors that can bring so many nuances and layers to these characters. So you've got people that are multidimensional, haven't you?
Absolutely, which is essential for a le Carré story because all the characters are so layered and so complex.